This Thanksgiving soap forgot one tiny thing: the families. Apparently, in this universe, family gatherings are optional, even on Thanksgiving. The most glaring mystery isn't what poison Haley's slipping into Bill's diet, or what happens in the ever-mysterious elevator. No, the real enigma is how an entire cast managed to orbit around the Duprees while the concept of extended family vanished into thin air. Bill? No sign of his kin. Ted? Outside of Andrea, radio silence. Tomas, Smitty, Joey, Vanessa, Nicole. Danny? Family trees chopped down, roots erased. Even Haley, whose only visible relative is Randy, seems to have emerged from a vacuum. It's a festive ghost town. Thanksgiving rolled around, and somehow, no one had a single blood relative to break bread with. Unless, of course, you count Joey's heartfelt, borderline obsessive turkey dinner for Vanessa. Yes, he spatchcocked it. And no, that isn't a crime. Just a culinary technique that sparked more than a few Google searches from viewers who, in 73 years of life, had never encountered the term. If nothing else, this show doubles as a vocabulary lesson. Meanwhile, in a delightful bit of product placement, Danny appears to be Cascade's newest ambassador, and Nicole is practically Febreze incarnate. It's hard to tell whether they're characters or walking advertisements. And then there's the intrusive swarm of Humana commercials, wedged between scenes like a relentless insurance-themed Greek chorus. As for plot, let's not pretend subtlety is the show's strength. Vanessa has fully embraced her role as the glamorous, manipulative puppet master, equal parts seductress and mob boss. Apparently, she's now running a small escort agency featuring Wendy and Giselle from Real Housewives of Potomac. Charming. Joey, ever the eager lapdog, is head over heels for Vanessa, which is unfortunate considering he may be the mastermind behind Doug's accidental demise. If Vanessa doesn't already suspect him, she's certainly pretending well, playing nice perhaps, just long enough to uncover the truth. And if Doug isn't actually dead, well, that would be the first surprise this show has delivered in a while that didn't come pre-leaked in a promo. Speaking of promos, Ted and Shanice trapped in an elevator? Let's hope Leslie is standing right there when the doors open. The sheer chaos that would follow is precisely the shot of adrenaline the show needs, because if nothing else, Leslie's talent for opening her mouth at the worst possible moment is practically a plot device in itself, and Shanice is fully equipped to shut it down. And then there's Kat. Her grudge against Eva isn't exactly subtle. She said it, directly and repeatedly. Eva gets more attention, and that alone is unforgivable. This isn't about trust or betrayal, it's textbook jealousy. The threat isn't what Eva's done. It's that she exists at all and happens to be beautiful. As Winterfest looms, and the slow-acting poison in Bill's system simmers ominously, we're promised revelations, confrontations, and maybe, if we're lucky, a family member or two. But let's not hold our breath. This show has made it abundantly clear. Unless your last name is Dupree, you're either dead, invisible, or reduced to a side gig with a cleaning brand. This wasn't a holiday episode. It was a corporate-sponsored train wreck disguised as gratitude. Thanksgiving episodes are supposed to bring heart, chaos, and maybe a burnt pie or two, not 5 minutes of unsolicited detergent advertising and plot lines held together with duct tape and desperation. But here we are. Let's dive into the overcooked turkey and undercooked writing that was this week's BTG. First, a standing ovation to Vernon, whose Thanksgiving toast was the only genuinely heartfelt moment of the episode. Clifton Davis delivers gravitas in every line, regal, composed, and effortlessly moving. One could almost forget they were watching a soap where dishwashing pods got more screen time than half the cast. Speaking of which, the Cascade product placement was nothing short of absurd. It's one thing to plop a branded box on the counter. It's another to hold the audience hostage while Andre gives a step-by-step tutorial on how to insert a pod into a dishwasher like it's a NASA control panel. What's next? An instructional video on how to fold Charmine? Meanwhile, Ashley's Thanksgiving had charm, even if the audience was left wondering why her mother outshines her in every possible way. Danny and Andre had a solid showing. Even with the turkey tragically incinerated, they managed to salvage the evening with laughter and levity. Martin and Smitty's gathering was another highlight. But Vanessa and Joey? Their dinner was the emotional equivalent of canned cranberry sauce, cold, jellied, and should have been left in the pantry. As for Leslie, her failed attempt to politely decline an invitation she was never extended was nothing short of comedy. Watching her maneuver through social situations like an uninvited guest at her own downfall is becoming its own art form. She remains allergic to accountability, allergic to humility, and entirely addicted to manipulation. Her proximity to Eva isn't born of motherly warmth, but of strategic positioning. Eva is Leslie's bridge to Ted, and Ted is the prize. There is no line she won't cross, no person she won't throw under the bus if it means she gets closer to her precious teddy bear. But let's not pretend Eva's innocent. Her scheming with Leslie is so transparent, you could saran wrap it and call it leftovers. And somehow, in the midst of this psychological chess game, we're meant to pretend Vanessa and Joey are falling in love, as if we've all forgotten Joey killed Doug. Nothing says romantic arc quite like unresolved murder. And while we're on the subject of unresolved problems, Tomas. Why is he still here? The chemistry with Kat is non-existent, and his scenes feel like filler at best, furniture at worst. That said, the argument for diversity and the strength of the ensemble cast is fair. BTG does bring representation. Unfortunately, it also brings kale salad to a Thanksgiving table and calls it a plot point. Because yes, let's talk about that menu. Beet salad, green bean casserole, kale? Where exactly was the actual food? Did someone forget this was Thanksgiving, not a farmer's market charcuterie offshoot? The whole dinner looked like a Whole30 Pinterest fail. In the end, the week felt like narrative leftovers, plenty of ingredients, but no recipe. And yet somehow, it's still addictive, because even with its misfires and meandering subplots, BTG continues to serve chaos on a silver platter. And if nothing else, that's something to be thankful for. Here's why Kat is the show's biggest hypocrite, and no one's talking about it. Apparently, there was a missing episode, or perhaps just a black hole in the plot, because Madison, Chelsea's girlfriend, seems to have vanished without a trace. No explanation, no whisper of an exit storyline. She's simply gone, as if her arc evaporated in post-production. Classic soap opera vanishing act. Let's just chalk it up to creative discretion and move on. Meanwhile, viewers are busy playing defense attorney for Eva, which is no small task considering the show's ongoing effort to paint her as a one-woman villain factory. But if she's such a monster, why didn't she snatch her own concert ticket back from Leslie? That little nugget of generosity, or incompetence, seems to get lost in translation, while Leslie, let's not forget, literally stole Eva's ticket. But sure, let's keep pretending Eva is the root of all evil, while Leslie is out here rummaging through purses like it's part of her morning routine. Speaking of accountability, when exactly is Leslie going to jail for the whole Laura situation? Or are we saving that for sweeps week? It's hard to keep up with who's dodging which consequences. One minute she's the villainous mastermind, the next she's the nosy neighbor in someone else's storyline. Either way, she's always in someone's pocketbook, literally and metaphorically. And can we talk about Kat for a moment? This moral high ground she's perched on is built on some seriously shaky scaffolding. She can't forgive her father for cheating on her mother, yet she's comfortably cuddled up with Tomas, the man who cheated on Eva. Why? Because he said he loved her. Ah, yes. Nothing like a few empty words to completely override your entire moral code. Turns out, Kat doesn't mind betrayal as long as it's pointed in a direction that flatters her ego and frustrates Eva. Hypocrisy? No. Just classic romantic self-deception. She and Tomas deserve each other, if only for their shared talent for strategic self-delusion. Elsewhere in the cast, Haley has confirmed she never truly loved Bill, which has taken a lot of the fun out of watching her flail in jealousy every time he so much as breathes in Danny's direction. That little love triangle had potential. Now it's just awkward silence with bad lighting. As for the ever-entertaining dynamics of trust funds, is Anita still financing Leslie's lifestyle, or has the money train finally hit a red light? One can only assume there's a subplot brewing, because no soap would leave a trust fund unexploited. And let's not ignore the peculiar portrayal of Thanksgiving. A sea of black families enjoying elaborate restaurant dinners is a lovely idea, until you realize Vernon and Anita give their chef the holiday off, only to dine at the country club, thereby supporting a different set of employees, not getting time with their families. It's a moral paradox wrapped in linen napkins and turkey carving stations. Would it have killed them to host at home like the dignified wealthy elders they're supposed to be? Still, amid the chaos, there are highlights. Vernon delivered a surprisingly heartfelt toast, a rare moment of sincerity. Shanice remains the only one besides June capable of standing toe-to-toe with delusional Leslie, and Vanessa, bless her, looks utterly in over her head. Winterfest is next, and it promises drama served on a silver platter. And finally, a small but important public service announcement. If you spray a fire extinguisher inside an oven, you will not pull out a picture-perfect turkey afterward. Your kitchen will look like a blizzard hit, and your food will be seasoned exclusively in chemical foam. This show may thrive on suspending disbelief, but let's not suspend basic physics. To the overly sensitive fans threatening to quit the show over its twists and turns, it's a soap opera, not a UN hearing. There's no Pulitzer at stake. The genre lives and breathes in the space between ridiculous and riveting. That's the point. Every time Eva looks sad, a fan says she's grown. Please stop. Say what you will about television these days, but this soap has managed to do the impossible. Gather one of the most compelling casts on air and wrap them in plot lines as twisty as a corkscrew in a hurricane. Somehow, it works. Let's begin with Eva. A walking contradiction, she is both victim and villain, emotionally tethered to a mentally unstable mother while weaponizing the same dysfunction to excuse her misdeeds. The audience is clearly meant to root for her. She's due for redemption after all, but her refusal to extend empathy to Kat, whose family she helped decimate, keeps her firmly planted in the gray zone. A simple thought experiment, what if someone helped destroy my parents' marriage, could inspire some overdue humility. But self-awareness is in short supply in this universe, and Eva's no exception. Kat, on the other hand, is often reduced to eye-roll reactions and silent judgments. But don't let the stoicism fool you. She's calculated, observant, and likely already 10 steps ahead. Especially when it comes to Leslie, whose sudden proximity to Marcel all but screams, undercover operation. Her faux apology tour? Please. Leslie blew up a marriage with Eva's help and now expects peace offerings? If Kat looks guarded, it's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And speaking of delusion, Haley deserves a whole dissertation. Allegedly just passing through for a heist, she seems far too invested in the Dupree's approval for someone who claims not to care. Her scorn toward Bill's closeness to Danny reeks less of professional detachment and more of romantic jealousy. She's not fooling anyone, least of all herself. Then there's Vernon, who appears to be the only man on this show with a halfway decent plan, albeit one executed with the subtlety of a foghorn. Secret meetings with a vocal coach? A laughably obvious attempt to stage a romantic Winterfest performance for Anita. Admirable, if not exactly covert. But he'd better confess before someone mistakes good intentions for infidelity, because this show isn't kind to secrets, especially the innocent kind. Elsewhere, emotional fallout and awkward glances abound. Eva's face when she found out Kat and Tomas went on a trip together? Devastated. Ted's reaction to Leslie's refusal to visit Martin? Equally cryptic. Everyone's pretending not to care while very much caring. The entire cast could give masterclasses in emotional repression. Predictions? Tomas and Kat will return either engaged, married, or with a surprise pregnancy. Eva still wants him, of course, but Team Eva would rather eat glass than admit it. Meanwhile, Andre, possibly the show's most confused man, will pine for Ashley's stability while missing Danny's fire. Danny and Bill, now older and allegedly wiser, are likely to rediscover love over some ill-timed crisis. And Haley? Expect a clawed-out catfight with Eva over Isaiah, because of course, Joey and Vanessa are careening toward either marriage or prison, depending on the day. Ted and Shanice are a wild-card power couple in the making. Nicole will fall prey to Carlton's manipulation or find love in a hopeless subplot. Leslie will manipulate her badge-carrying lapdog of a cop until he turns the tables and drains her bank account. And as for redemption, Vernon's grand speech might land, but whether it reaches Haley? Highly unlikely, isn't it? She's too busy self-sabotaging to hear anything over the sound of her own denial. If every man in a family cheats, it's not a story, it's a stereotype. June's Thanksgiving monologue was designed to elicit tears, and shockingly, it worked. For a moment, the show paused its usual whiplash drama and gave us something tender. Vernon's voiceovers, always pitched with solemn dignity, floated over scenes of faux family harmony, like gravy over stuffing. It was the closest we've gotten to emotional coherence this season. Naturally, some viewers have launched into full-blown outrage over implausible plot lines, as if the words soap opera weren't already printed in bold on the genre's packaging. Complaining that a soap is dramatic and unrealistic is like being shocked that a fish swims. If you're furiously drafting letters over character arcs, congratulations! The writers and actors are earning their paychecks. Let's take Bill, for instance. The man doesn't seem the least bit concerned that his wife's entire family is MIA on Thanksgiving. Either he has a superhuman ability to ignore the obvious, or, more likely, the writers have swapped his brain with a paperweight. Meanwhile, Haley, criminal mastermind or certified mess, continues her charade with all the subtlety of a raccoon in a jewelry store. How long until Isaiah calls her out? Then there's Leslie, who someone daringly compared to Erica Kane. A flattering reach. She's far more akin to Phyllis from The Young and the Restless, a masterclass in baby daddy deception. Lie about the child's father, secure the man, lose him when the truth comes out. But keep the love of a fake child alive. It's practically textbook. And Ted? He's already halfway down that same road, wrapped around Eva like she's his DNA-proven legacy. The reveal writes itself. Fake daughter, real heartbreak. But let's talk about Kat. Poor, prophetic Kat. She warned us. She warned everyone. And now, Ted, the soft-spined Teddy-Weddy, is sharing cranberry sauce with the very snakes that gutted his marriage. Dana, the alleged love of his life, certainly understands him. Translation: she knew just what flavor of ego-stroking to serve, while Nicole got tossed to the curb. So yes, Kat, they wanted your life, and Nicole's too. And thanks to Teddy's inability to distinguish sincerity from manipulation, they got both. As for the Duprees, what's the point of hiring a private chef when no one eats at home? Clearly, the true feast is dysfunction. And speaking of absence, has anyone seen Chief Hawthorne's wife, Rowena? Anyone? Budget constraints might be the culprit, but at some point, the disappearing acts become a pattern, not a fiscal strategy. If every wife, child, or relevant character is off-screen indefinitely, one starts to wonder if the writers are using Mad Libs to fill in the cast list. Danny and Andre, in what must have been a drunken fever dream of a scene, sprayed down the turkey with a fire extinguisher and then tried to eat it. Yes, nothing says holiday spirit like flame-retardant stuffing. Vanessa, meanwhile, trekked up to Banneker for an early holiday with her twins, who then didn't come home for Thanksgiving. Their father just died, and yet the best they can do is send thoughts and prayers from what is apparently a 30-minute drive away. Dysfunction, thy name is fair Crest. Now to the inevitable, the infidelity epidemic. If Vernon turns out to be cheating, it will complete a sweep. Every straight married man in the Dupree family will have had an affair within the show's first season, except for Jacob, the last moral man standing. While soap tropes require betrayal, maybe spare at least one black man from the tired stereotype. Not every husband needs to be a cheater just because the credits roll. Still, for all its eye rolls and plot holes, credit where it's due, we got 2 original holiday episodes this week, a rare luxury in a genre that usually throws reruns at major holidays like their clearance decorations. Maybe this is a sign the show is finding its footing. But let's be clear, this is a soap. If you want realism, stick to Hallmark. If you want clean morals and sensible life choices, look elsewhere. Here, dysfunction is the main course, and Thanksgiving was just the appetizer. Here's what nobody wants to admit. This soap just outperformed your favorite prestige drama. Every so often, a soap dares to break the formula, not with shock deaths or last-minute weddings, but with something far more radical. Earnest, emotionally intelligent storytelling. The latest Thanksgiving episode of BTG delivered exactly that, with a dinner table that managed to serve redemption, regret, gratitude, and just the right dash of absurdity, like trying to resuscitate a charred turkey with a fire extinguisher. At the center of it all was Vernon's toast, an elegantly written homage that somehow pulled off what most network executives still pretend is impossible, capturing the emotional legacy of characters like Matt Corey, Another World, Ed Bauer, Guiding Light, and Chris Hughes, As the World Turns, but with an update that didn't reek of nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It was timeless, not dated. In one scene, a woman found peace among the children rescued by two men who once loved her enough to save her from herself. In another, a power-hungry man who once threw away everything for ambition was quietly gifted a flicker of light, offered by a father figure he didn't realize he had. There was a woman surrounded by wise elders, relishing the rare joy of communal womanhood. A broken man, responsible for his own fall, was cradled by a found family he never knew he needed. One daughter saw her dreams fulfilled. One couple salvaged love from wreckage. Another finally found safety in vulnerability and the relief of being seen. If it all sounds a little too poetic, it wasn't. It was precisely what holiday episodes should be but rarely are. A reminder of why audiences stick around after the big reveals, the affairs, and the back-from-the-dead twists. Emotional payoff still matters. Of course, BTG didn't resist indulging in its delicious chaos. After Andre heroically saved the turkey from a literal inferno, he broke the knife trying to cut into it. Because why wouldn't you try to serve smoked poultry that's still sizzling from a chemical bath? These are the absurd little touches that remind you you're still watching a soap, and not a prestige drama with delusions of subtlety. Elsewhere, storylines hummed with intrigue. Tomas is clearly manipulating Kat, who may not be anyone's favorite, but even she doesn't deserve this slow-motion psychological mugging. Meanwhile, Naomi's indecision about Jacob is laughably tragic. If she can't see the appeal of a good man ready to start a beautiful black family, someone else is more than willing to volunteer as tribute. Then there's Bill, who apparently wants to boomerang back into a situation he detonated himself. If you trash your life for someone else, you don't get to act confused when the door isn't left open for your return. And one thing Mrs. Anita is guaranteed to do is speak her truth, with elegance and precision. If something needs to be said, she says it. No hesitation, no performance. Just truth, velvet-wrapped, and scalpel-sharp. As for wardrobe, credit where it's due. Whoever's styling this cast deserves their own Emmy. The costuming alone often distracts from the occasional plot stumbles. And yes, it matters. These are soap gods, not extras in a courtroom docuseries. On the more convoluted side of things, the Dana-Ted-Nicole triangle continues to be the train wreck it always promised to be. The suggestion that Ted was ever in love with Dana is delusional. He liked her attention. He may have cared for her, but love? No. That's reserved for his wife, whose temporary absence has him spiraling in all directions. Dating Dana again won't mend what he broke, and frankly, no one's a good choice for Ted right now. He's not a romantic lead. He's a cautionary tale. And for the record, no, Colby Muhammad, Kat, is not pregnant. Neither is Carla Mosley, Danny. And Mike Manning, Smitty, is neither a new father nor straight. AI may be inventing lives, but the real cast is still firmly grounded in reality. What's real, though? The performances. Danny and Andre's scenes, from the tender reflection on his parents to their heartfelt vows, weren't just soap-worthy, they were award-worthy. The acting was layered, restrained, and devastating in all the right ways. The actor playing Andre in particular carried the emotional weight of a man torn between past pain and present promise. It was the kind of performance that elevates the entire genre. So, yes, It was a Thanksgiving episode. But more than that, it was a love letter to everything daytime television can still be when it bothers to care. Here's what no one wants to admit about Eva. She's not being redeemed, she's being excused. Let's get one thing clear. Eva is not some misunderstood victim wandering through the ruins of her own life with a halo askew. She's wrong on multiple fronts, cruel, manipulative, and emotionally stunted. And she's paying the price. Her social circle is a ghost town. Her only consistent company comes from her parents and Martin, which should tell you everything. But the question remains, what exactly do people expect Eva to do now? Should she grovel at Kat's feet, whispering, "You're right. Please continue dragging me and my mother through the mud. Make my life a waking nightmare, and I'll just keep nodding along like a grateful punching bag?" Let's not mistake accountability for masochism. The real issue here isn't that Eva refuses to submit to Kat. It's that Kat keeps being forced to accept Eva's presence as if it's her responsibility to suddenly embrace betrayal, like it's an inherited heirloom. Eva, once an outsider, is now being planted into the soil of Kat's family, like an invasive species, with everyone expecting Kat to bloom around her. That's not healing, it's coercion. Kat isn't being abusive by keeping her distance. She's setting boundaries. Boundaries that Eva consistently bulldozes in the name of trying. And let's not pretend the people around Eva have seen the full scope of who she really is. Ted and Nicole haven't caught her venomous outbursts, the way she lashed out at Kat after Tomas dismissed her, or the audacity of barging into Chelsea and Kat's home uninvited. They don't know that Eva, when cornered, doesn't just lash out, she curdles. Give it time, and they'll find themselves dealing with someone who looks a lot more like Leslie than they ever expected. Then, and only then, will the scales balance. Then they'll understand that Eva isn't a misunderstood underdog. She's a woman capable of weaponizing her pain and turning it on anyone in proximity. Until that day, let's stop pretending that Kat's discomfort is the problem here. The problem is this relentless campaign to force her into forgiveness, as though family unity is a group project she's obligated to complete. The real endgame isn't reconciliation, it's recognition of who Eva is, what she's done, and how little she's changed. This Thanksgiving, no one cooked, but everyone stirred the pot. Vernon's Thanksgiving toast was a rare moment of grace in Fairmont, Crest, a moving tribute to forgiveness and redemption. But it begs the question, who among this beautifully chaotic ensemble will actually be afforded redemption? Because right now, several characters are clinging to their second chances like they're entitled to them, while others are drowning in schemes of their own making. Let's start with Ted. The dinner scene with Leslie and Eva was less warm holiday reunion and more court-mandated awkward silence. Watching Eva call Ted Dad like it's second nature is already grating, and frankly, unearned. Nothing about the moment felt heartfelt. It felt transactional. This should have been a scene centered on Eva and Leslie at Peaches' bedside. Instead, we got another overly choreographed attempt to paint a perfect family portrait. Spoiler, the frame doesn't fit, and while we're on family dynamics, Kat was right to disappear for the holiday. Her entire family is doing the absolute most with the least. One can only hope her absence is more than just emotional self-preservation. Perhaps she'll return pregnant, because why not? And Tomas, ever the opportunist, will propose just in time to boost his image and make partner. Their chemistry is non-existent, so at least this storyline might give him a reason to exist. Then there's the upcoming chaos we all see coming. Eva versus Haley. Let's not pretend it won't be a spectacle once Eva catches Haley making eyes at Isaiah. If looks could kill, that Thanksgiving table would have needed a coroner. And speaking of theatrics, Vernon delivering his emotional speech to a crowd of country club elites who actually stopped talking long enough to listen? A miracle. Or maybe just excellent sound design. Fashion note. June's outfit was a triumph. A small but necessary win in an episode crowded with tension, secrets, and off-kilter dynamics. Now let's talk about logistics. Whatever happened to the Anita Williams impersonator who was supposed to come for Thanksgiving? And why was dinner suddenly hosted at the country club? Wasn't Rowena supposed to cook? Apparently, everyone decided to outsource the holiday this year, directly onto the backs of underpaid club staff. Nothing says gratitude like ignoring the working class on a national holiday. Of course, we're now in the era of social media discourse, but credit where it's due. Fairmont Crest is doing a commendable job keeping the drama tight, the cast large, and the audience engaged. For those complaining about Ted's character shift, this isn't a documentary. Character development isn't handcuffed to the actor. It's called storytelling. Kat and Eva don't need to be friends. In fact, let's not rush that. Their unresolved tension is doing the narrative heavy lifting right now, and Donna and Leslie remain reliably entertaining. Vernon's speech hit every emotional note. It was the heart of the episode, and the writers knew it. Some plot lines, however, stretch believability. Dani not knowing her way around a kitchen? Hard to swallow. Given her background and her mother Anita's reputation, it's laughable to think no culinary skill was passed down. More likely, she just wasn't paying attention. Meanwhile, Jacob is oblivious to the fact that his father and Marcel are walking felony charges with great hair. And Leslie, who is allegedly a grown woman, is still obsessed with bullying Laura. A hobby, apparently. Then there's Eva, the same woman who broke Ted's family, now offering him condolences for spending his first Thanksgiving without Nicole. How thoughtful. Once you've emotionally detonated a man's life, the least you can do is bring pie. And let's not forget the mess under the surface. Alan is Eva's real father, not Ted. Leslie and Eva are allegedly running a long con, and Peaches is rumored to be sitting on the truth. Don't worry, she'll probably spill it when it's most dramatic. And yes, for those who never bought the Ted is my daddy storyline, you're not alone. The paperwork came suspiciously fast and from deeply biased sources. No independent DNA test? No questions from Nicole? Unlikely, at best. Elsewhere, Bill and Haley remain blissfully unaware of why the Dupree family can't stand them, and the new version of Ted never even got a decent on-screen moment with his late wife. So much potential chemistry, wasted. Other notes. Tomas can go. He adds nothing to Kat's arc, and watching them share screen time is like watching paint dry. Eva, on the other hand, should worry less about Kat's location and more about the company she's keeping at her own Thanksgiving table. Vanessa may be setting Joey up because she's either scheming or just unbelievably naive. Probably both. And of course, the absurdity of hosting 4 separate Thanksgiving dinners, despite everyone living within a 5-minute radius? Peak Fairmont nonsense. At least it kept the pacing tight. Rumors of Ted and Shanice stuck in an elevator next week? Bring it on. We're overdue for some claustrophobic truth-telling. And finally, a classy shout-out to real-life Black interior designers Quentin Tate and Kionda Powell. An inspired touch. The show does a commendable job integrating real-world nods into its storytelling. As for Haley, her toddler tantrum face at dinner was the comedy highlight of the episode. No gratitude, just pure pout. Meanwhile, Naomi turned up looking elegant and unbothered, a moment of style and grace in a room full of dysfunction. In the end, Fairmont Crest's Thanksgiving episode delivered on all fronts: drama, emotion, and enough plot lines to carry us straight through Christmas. The gates are closed for now, but we're ready when they open again. Forgiveness is powerful, but what if the person never said sorry? Andre didn't hesitate to extinguish that turkey like it was a 4-alarm blaze. One might question whether it was smoke or just the stench of Dani's culinary crimes. But let's not pretend he wasn't just dodging a bite. Still, amidst all the melodrama and scorched poultry, credit where it's due. The writers of this chaotic saga deserve a moment of genuine thanks. They've managed to lace this soapy, unpredictable narrative with meaningful nods to cultural relevance. Something rarely handled with this much intention in mainstream storytelling. We've seen respectful acknowledgement of HBCUs, portrayals of strong Black family values, conversations around Black health issues, homelessness, and charity within the community. Add to that a refreshing depiction of LGBTQ+ characters as successful, secure, and unapologetically themselves. And it's clear someone in the writer's room came to work. Forgiveness, professional representation, cultural nuance, it's all there, tucked neatly between wild affairs and emotional blowouts. But let's pivot to the meat of this drama, And no, not the turkey. Kat, Eva, Tomas. And the endless loop of betrayal, bitterness, and blind spots. There's a growing chorus claiming that Kat is entitled to her anger. And sure, being deceived by your sister and lover does earn you a bit of emotional real estate. But when everyone else, Nicole, Martin, even Ted, has found a way to move forward, Kat's prolonged wallowing starts to feel less like grief and more like a lifestyle choice. Nicole, once seemingly determined to die bitter, chose peace. Martin, no stranger to family dysfunction, swallowed his pride and let go. Yet Kat remains tethered to her fury, as if her pain is some badge of honor. Let's be honest, Eva wasn't exactly raped by circumstance. She knew Thomas was with Kat. She knew they were sisters, and yet she crossed the line with eyes wide open. But Tomas wasn't some helpless victim of seduction either. He participated willingly because he thought Kat had ended things, an assumption that conveniently aligned with his desire. Let's stop absolving him like some confused puppy. He's sneaky, he knew what he was doing, and frankly, he still can't be trusted. Kat's refusal to let go is becoming self-destructive, clinging to pain, dragging around her betrayal like a security blanket. It's doing nothing but aging her into resentment. She's teetering on the edge of becoming the bitter old woman she thinks she's defending herself from. And let's not pretend her relationship with Tomas is built to last. She has two options: stew in her hatred or do the hard, unglamorous work of forgiveness. Otherwise, she's just poisoning herself, hoping Eva feels it. But before we canonize Kat, let's not rewrite history. Eva never apologized. She didn't even fake remorse. When Kat showed up to reconcile, Eva doubled down, dismissive, smug, still clutching her victimhood with both hands. If she wants peace, she'll need to descend from that moral high ground, knock on Kat's door with humility, and own every ugly part of what she did. Of course, the dysfunction doesn't stop there. Ted continues his reign as king of poor decisions. Leslie insulted Kat right in front of him, and he just sat there like a damp dish rag. And now, he's spending Thanksgiving with Eva and Leslie, as if he's auditioning to become the show's next emotional punching bag. It's no wonder Nicole left him. Frankly, Kat's rage toward him is the most understandable emotion on screen. As for Leslie, declining Martin's invite she never received? That's a special kind of delusion. The woman invents rejections to justify her own isolation. Yet, in the rare moments of calm, this show still delivers tenderness. June looked radiant, Vernon's speech genuinely moving. There's beauty amidst the madness. Oh, and shout out to Luke, the Detroit cop, because the writers finally gave us a nod only real Detroiters would catch. McNichols is 6 Mile, not a street in Manhattan. And Coney Island? That's chili cheese fries, not roller coasters. In conclusion, the show might be unhinged, but it knows what it's doing. It keeps one foot in real cultural substance, while the other wades through a swamp of scandal and betrayal. As for Kat, time's ticking. That bitterness is starting to look like a choice. Let it go, or risk becoming the villain in a story that started with her as the wounded heroine.